Hi dear students, today we will talk about punctuation in English. Introduction. In writing, we can use punctuation marks to emphasize, clarify what we mean. Meanwhile, in speaking, we can make a pause, stop, change our tone of voice. That's why in writing we make use of punctuation marks as signals to our readers. So first our rule is a full stop. The full stop is used at the end of a complete statement or utterance which is neither an exclamation nor a question. For example, he saw a UFO among the trees. He asked me if I had seen it. So as you see at the end of our statement, we have put the full stop. After abbreviations also we can use a full stop. For example, Bachelor of Arts. The abbreviation is BA. For example, the abbreviation is EG. Note well, the abbreviation is NB. Note, it's often the practice to omit the full stop if the last letter of the abbreviated words is given. Mr. or dear. MR or DR. The full stop is the most important of the punctuation marks. Its omission when its use is undeniably required will confuse the reader, ideas will be mixed up, and the meaning intended by their writer will not be probably communicated to the reader. Second rule, a comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause is needed in a sentence. It separates the structural elements of sentences into manageable segments. Commas are both an aid to sense and to ease of reading. They are sometimes used in long sentences to break up words into sections where the sense allows a pause to be taken. It's better to underuse them than to overuse them. Next rule, commas are frequently overused. It's as well always consider the effect on the sense and construction of a sentence that their inclusion or omission would have. Consider the following. For example, I saw my friend John. I saw my friend John. The first sentence implies that I have several friends, but the one that I saw was John. The omission of the comma allows John to define which friend it was that I saw. The second sentence may imply that I have only one friend and that his name happens to be John. The inclusion of the comma allows the word John merely to qualify the word friend. It might also mean the speaker is addressing John when he or she says, I saw my friend. So next rule, conventional uses of the comma. To separate two descriptions set side by side of the same object or person. The second of the two descriptions adds to the meaning of the first and is parallel to it. Technically, the second statement is said to be in opposition to the first. For example, Mr. Brown, the grocer, sells butter. Conventional uses of the comma. To separate the items or elements in a list. Example, at the grocer's I bought some eggs, bacon, sugar, tea, and biscuits. Note, some writers would not insert the comma before the final and but others would argue that because it separates tea from biscuits as elements in a list, it should be there. Look, however, at the final comma in the following list, where it is essential. For breakfast, I add some cereals, toast, and eggs and bacon. The final pair of items here, eggs and bacon, may be seen as a single element. To have omitted the comma after toast would have obscured the sense by running toast and eggs and bacon together. To mark off the name or title of a person being addressed. Example: Mr. Smith, what is the trouble? I'd much rather, James, you told me the truth. Doctor, I have had a pain in my back for quite a time. Next rule, following introductory words which introduce direct speech or a direct question. Example: He said, I know that I should not have said that. The policeman asked, why did you hesitate? The rule number 5, to separate short clauses which list actions, events, and so on. Example: the man rose, left the room, slammed the door, and made his way into the street. To indicate a statement interpolated within a sentence, commas here effectively bracket off the interpolation. It was obvious, all things considered, that he had done the wrong thing. The rule number 7, to separate or mark off a phrase which stands apart from the rest of a sentence. Example: the decision taken, there was no going back. The rule number 8, to indicate where the words have been deliberately omitted but need to be understood. Example: the professor could pursue his own ideas, I mine. To mark off a series of statements in the same sentence. For example, he knew what he had to do, where he had to go, and when he should take the next step. The rule number 10, to mark off a statement which qualifies the meaning of a word. The omission of the comma here would alter the sense by changing the qualification into a clear definition. For example, he stumbled into the house, which was his home. This implies that there was only one house, and this house happened to be his home. Use commas wherever you think they are necessary to prevent possible confusion or misreading. The comma in a compound sentence is placed before the coordinating conjunction. Andy built a sandcastle and Joe played with his dog. As you see, and is a coordinating conjunction. Andy and Joe is a subject. Built and played is a verb. So, if you want to join two simple sentences into one compound sentence, you have to use coordinating conjunction, and before this conjunction you have to put the comma. When a dependent clause is located after an independent clause, don't place a comma between the two. For example, Augustin is a good team, but Natation is better. So as you see here, our conjunction stands after the independent clause. So the conjunction stands always independent clause. If the dependent clause located after an independent clause, we mustn't put a comma. Our third rule is the semicolon. The semicolon marks off one part of sentence from another much more sharply than a comma. It's particularly useful to divide a long sentence into self-contained sections. The semicolon is used. Firstly, to separate a series of complete statements which nevertheless belong to a long or whole statement. Example: he was ill, he now knew it, he would go to the doctor's. Note: the semicolons here give to the three short statements a dramatic note which would not be present if the first were replaced by a comma and the second by a conjunction, such as and. Indeed, to change the statement in this way would weaken it so much that it would become almost meaningless. So, dear students, it's the end of our lesson. I think our lesson were very interesting. If you have any questions, you can write to my Telegram channel. Bye bye.